Hey everybody, this is Pastor Kevin L. Lipsy Sr., also known as just PKL.
And Stephanie Lipsy, also known as Stephanie.
And welcome to Married in 28 Days, the actual podcast. Stephanie,
Right.
I am so excited because we get to lay down a foundation. We get to tell our story. We get to talk about marriage. We get to talk about a lot of different things that we learned along the way. And yes, we were actually married in 28 days.
Right. Like we met day 1 and day 28, we were married.
We were actually married. So, Stephanie, we want to, in this podcast, kind of, like I said before, just kind of set up a foundation. This is our very first podcast. For those of you who have followed us over from our Facebook page, we've been podcasting and we have been doing Facebook Live and all these other things for quite some time. But we kind of wanted to shift and we wanted to talk about like relationships.
Yes.
And I think it's very important because of what, Stephanie, we are actually in on today. Being that we are actually in a space where a lot of people are talking about relationships.
Right. A lot of people are talking about relationships on social media, a lot of platforms. There are people, especially after Kevin Samuels, and a lot of other people spun out from that. You have the high value men, you have the independent woman, and everybody trying to figure out this whole relationship thing. But we want to bring it back to the Word of God. We want to bring it back, the way God intended it to be.
Yeah, we want to like put God's spin on it. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad I'm actually brought up Kevin Samuels because he was sort of the pioneer of the space or the manosphere that we're actually in today. And so now the manosphere is actually kind of warped into something else.
Yeah.
We are hearing, just like you said, just a lot of cliches things that are going on. Some of the things that we probably hear something like, I don't know. What are some of the things that we were actually talking about earlier?
So, of course, like I just mentioned, high value man, independent, Miss Independent.
Oh, I love this one. It's talking about how a lot of women are in their masculine energy.
Oh, yes, the masculine energy.
And feminine energy.
Yeah.
Men actually want women to actually be in their feminine energy. And so the problem with a lot of this is that, as you so eloquently described earlier off camera, you said that this is kind of moving away from the godly principles.
Right.
And so we don't want to be
further and further away from it. As believers, the world have its way of doing things. And of course, with platforms and social media, a lot of this stuff sound good. But when you take a really good close look at it, it's like, but that's not really how God made it, or that's not how he intended it. And if it was so, more people would be married. But, you as a pastor, you talk to a lot of people. I'm a hairstylist. I speak to women every day. I don't get to watch as much YouTube to hear all the different things you get to see. But I do have conversations. And honestly, honey, it's not limited to just the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds or whatever. This is literally the dating scene between 20 and I would say up to 60.
Wow.
They all are experiencing the same thing.
Wow, this is this is monumental because I think that, like we were talking about earlier, I think that we have taken a turn for the worse here.
Yeah.
I think we've taken a turn for the bad, as they would say. And the reason being is because we're not getting the essentials of what it is that God, or I should say the biblical view or God's intent for actual marriage. Let me give you, for instance, I recently did this actual message. Maybe I think it was about last year. No, I think it was earlier on. I think it was in the front of the pandemic. Right?
Okay.
And so I did this message, and this message was actually talking about in the beginning. Right, we came from Genesis. I think we came from Genesis chapter 2. Please don't quote me on that because I have my notes on it. But anyway, I was talking about marriage, and I was talking about it from the perspective of the judgment. Now, here's what this is going to get very interesting because we're kind of framing this entire podcast, around what it is that I'm about to share. Watch this. Okay. So what happened is that, of course, Adam and Eve sinned. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but Adam and Eve actually sinned. Right? So when they sinned, there came about some judgments. Now, have you ever heard of bankruptcy court, right? You've heard of that, right? Yeah. Of course. Okay. Now, in bankruptcy court, here's the thing. What the judge does is that they put you up under a judgment. And when he puts you up under this judgment, what he essentially does is that he says, okay, now you have to meet all the requirements under the judgment. And if you do that and you're and complete, whatever it is that's put before you, then you're going to be released from that particular judgment.
Yes.
In other words, you're going to have success.
Right.
As long as you follow the plan.
Okay, that's good.
Under the judgment.
I see where you're going.
You're going to actually have success. Now, the problem with a lot of relationships is that people don't really understand that when Adam and Eve sinned, each individual roles were actually placed up under a judgment.
Okay.
So you had, when I'm saying you, I'm speaking about women. Okay?
Right.
You as a woman had your particular role and your particular judgment.
Okay.
Me as a male, I had my role and my judgment. Now, up under my role and my judgment, God said that basically I was going to have to work by the sweat of my brow, but I don't really understand, or men, people don't really understand what that means. He says that the woman, watch this, that she was going to feel birthing pains. Now, this is so important. And the reason why it's so important is because out of the judgment, we understand the role. And out of the role, we understand that neither of us are above the other.
Right.
In other words, we are both heirs of the same grace.
Right.
Working out our roles, our judgment within, I would say, or under the curse. The curse is the judgment.
Right.
Right. And so what that really does is that shows you and that shows me my responsibility as a man while I'm under judgment.
Right.
And your responsibility as a woman while you're under judgment.
Right.
And it's not about, this cliche that everybody says, which is, what do you bring to the table?
Right. It's not about what each one brings to the table per se, but it's about how each one is acting out or fulfilling their part in a relationship as God commanded it.
Right.
And so it's like one is not better than the other, because guess what? It's work on both parts.
It's work.
It's work.
Work.
God said to Eve, your husband shall rule over you.
Right.
And so what that mean is, it's not like, and people hear it and they cringe, just like rule over me. But it's like Eve is the one who kind of messed up, if you will. We're going to put in just regular everyday terms.
No, it's not no kind of, she did.
I was getting ready to say, no, she did, but I was getting ready to say, because I was trying to say it the way the Bible say it, but I was like, let's just say it in today's terms.
Absolutely.
She messed up. And so now Adam is going to have to govern over her affairs. He's going to have to govern over her because he got to make sure that she don't mess up again.
He not only has to govern over her affairs, that word actually means that he has to look over into it.
He got to look over into it.
He has to look over into it. In other words, everything that she does, he has to look over into it.
Right.
To make sure.
Right.
That it's what it needs to be.
And guess what? We don't like that.
No.
We're going to fight, because I think the Bible used the word, and your desire should be of your husband. But it's not desire like, I desire.
No, it's not. No.
It's like the one that Cain and Abel had.
Exactly. So that means that basically, like you said, women are not going to like it. In other words, you're not going to like the fact that God actually put a man over you. And this is what the manosphere and all these other things and all these other people are talking about that they actually miss. Because they're so, I would say, enamored on bringing something to the table or asking the question, what are you bringing to the table, or trying to show your self-worth. Listen, both of us are honestly heirs of grace.
Yeah. Like it takes
up under judgment.
Yeah, it takes God's grace to work in me to be able to submit and to be able to, I'm gonna say this, allow you to lead.
Right.
Because some women, they say, well, yeah, he's the head, but you know what? He don't tell me what to do. I do what I want to do. So you're not really submitting then at that point. Yeah. But when I fight the urge to want to step outside of that, God's grace is there because he's giving me the grace that I can do it.
Yeah,
I can do it.
He's given us the grace to actually do it because on my end and my individual role, the Bible says that I was going to have to work by the sweat of my brow, not just with plowing the ground, but I have to work on our relationship. Yeah. Right. And with you not agreeing with it, with you not liking my position now. Right. And so, and incidentally, my position that was actually given to me by God, it is a God mandate, right? That I lead. Right. That is one thing that God is actually looking at under the judgment, right? And so the question that I asked in this lesson a couple of years ago, I was like, yo, why would you want to frustrate that? Yeah. Why would you not want to cooperate with that, right? And so that's part of your judgment. Right. It's because now God has called me to love you, knowing, watch this, knowing that you're not going to cooperate. But then he tells you to respect me, knowing that you don't like my position looking over into your affairs.
And then knowing that I don't like that and I am irritated and you get irritated with me. Wow. He's saying you're gonna have to love her anyway.
I'm gonna have to love you.
And we have to love
and you're gonna have to respect me anyway.
Respect you anyway.
And so this is a mandate from God. And so we want to talk about this. We want to talk about all of this, and we want to tie it into, our relationship, some of the things that we learned, because most of you really don't understand. We really met day 1. And day 28, we were actually married.
So let me do a small recap of that. I won't go just a little bit, because you have to get the book to read the full story. But basically, we both were in a place where we were seeking the Lord. We were growing in our relationship with God. And we both were at a place where we did not want to date anymore. So when we met, I would say it definitely was a God thing. God picked us up in a whirlwind and dropped us back down. And the next day, after we married, in 28 days, we looked at each other and was like, what in the world did we just do? I was like, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. He was like, what? Yes. But God was like, now that we look back over, and we discovered this many years ago, but our relationship was so important to God that he was like, I can't risk you two dating because you're gonna mess it up. You're gonna mess it up.
Those were some tough times, Stephanie, because we were so young in this thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so understanding the amount of work that it took to actually get where we are now, especially because this world says today, honestly, that, you have maybe 2 and 3 years engagement or something like that, a year engagement before you even start talking about marriage. And then, you know what I'm saying? Let's just be honest. Right. You know what I'm saying? People are having sex before marriage. People are doing all these things. And so a lot of emotions are actually coming into it. They're moving in together and all these things. And I'm saying that we didn't do that because we did tinker a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We did taste a little something a little bit. But we understood that, number one, that what that would actually do. Yeah. And we took a chance on actually doing that. I'm talking about sex before marriage. We took a chance on actually doing that. But then God stepped in and said, no, I need for you guys to get married. Yeah. Because this is about something bigger than just a power couple. Right. This is something way bigger than that. Right. This is about male and female coming together for the purpose of God. And so we're going to be explaining all these things.
That was good.
What is my role? What is your role? You know what I'm saying? Stephanie, what's some other things that we're going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about for those who are married, blending a family.
Yep, we're going to talk
blending
about
a family,
Yep.
in sickness and health, because we definitely have had our times. When I tell you guys, we have been tested on every end. The enemy hates marriage. And that's why it's so important that we get this podcast going, because we want to bring people to the understanding of God's intent in marriage. Because when he brings two people together, it's for his purpose.
Yep.
And his purpose is always working in us to work out of us.
Yeah.
He's working in us so that he can produce out of us. And guess what? That's going to produce more and more couples, which produce more and more families,
Right.
and more people who are living for God and being used for him.
That's a great point.
And so we were really like tested on every end. We was tested in finances. We was tested in health. We were tested when it comes to other people.
Wait a minute, stop right there. When you talk about health now,
Right.
Now, when we actually get on that subject matter, I mean, we're going to be talking about some things that, because like you said, there were so many different challenges and things in the beginning of our marriage. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, guys. I'm talking about, man, there were prophecies that we actually got right before. I'm talking about like right before we got married and after we actually got married. But the one thing that really really challenged us is when you actually got ill.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it all away right now because I want you guys to come back.
We're overcomers,
we're overcomers.
We're overcomers.
Yep.
We almost broke up twice.
Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah, but we're not going to give it to them just
No,
yet.
we're not going to go into
Yeah,
it.
we're
But
not gonna-
I'll have to put it out there because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
But we almost broke up 2 times.
Yeah.
But we still here, So, I mean, we have a lot of lessons. This is not going to be your typical relationship podcast. It is a lot of good times, but it's a lot of real times because guess what? Every marriage is going to be tried by the enemy.
Every marriage
You're
is going to
get
be different.
tried. And I always like to say it's not about being perfect or trying to find a perfect person. It's about finding a person who you can endure with, because you're going to go through some things. But it's about how you can both look unto God and allow him to do the work in each other, that we can then together present ourselves as one.
Yes.
As one.
Yes. And ultimately, like you said, we're two becoming one.
2 becoming one.
As a matter of fact, that's a chapter in our book.
That is a chapter.
The two becoming one. Listen, talking about the book, while I'm thinking about it, guys, go to www.lovingcorrection.com. There, you will find information on us as well as information on our book. We're going to be coming from the book, so if you want to kind of follow the podcast, why don't you just go ahead and get the book, because you'll kind of understand where we're coming from and kind of what we're talking about. And so this is going to be exciting, Stephanie. I am so excited about this upcoming season of Married in 28 Days, the actual podcast.
Yes.
I'm so excited because, like I said, I feel as though that we're going to be able to help a lot of different people.
Right.
And especially when it comes to marriage and relationships. Now, we're going to be doing this, I think maybe about once a week or so. Yeah. And so we're going to pre-record everything, so you guys are going to get it. And so go to our actual YouTube page.
Yes.
It's going to be right on your screen, and we're going to put the information there, so you can already be ready. Go and make sure that you subscribe. Hit that, subscribe button or whatever.
Help us grow this.
Yes,
podcast.
help us grow this thing.
Yep.
And big shout out to a lot of our people on Instagram. Stephanie put out a couple of videos. We put out a couple of videos, and they kind of went viral. So we want all of that audience to come over here to YouTube and just check us out. And so, Stephanie, I think that's about it.
I think that's about it. Let me see. Let me look over our notes and make sure here before we
Go ahead and
off.
look over the notes and see what we got going.
Yes. Yep. I think that is it. Okay. That look like that's it.
That's it. All right.
So we are going to meet everyone here on YouTube. We're going to try to build this audience, build this page.
Right here on YouTube.
Subscribe, share. We have a lot to talk about. We're excited. Yep. We want to help get some of you guys delivered so you can get married.
Yes.
And for those who are married, we want you to stay married.
Listen,
okay?
I'm Kevin, and this is
Stephanie. Oh do it again.
Well, okay, all right. I'm Kevin, and
this is Stephanie.
And you're watching Married in 28 Days.
Married in 28 days. Let me see if I can do the 28 days.
Yeah. All right, babe. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Did I just say babe?
You did say babe.
All right. All right, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye. I think we should cut that part because we ain't going to say see you next week.
Right.
Okay, so we just going to say.
Never mind.
No, but say something. Let's have a different ending right now.
All right, Stephanie, I think that's going to do it.
All right, that'll do it. Until next time.
All right, we'll see you guys then.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Do you say bye on podcasts?